MO. And this is my TBR shelf. Well, this is a plant. This is my TBR shelf. It's three shelves, but there's obviously a lot of other stuff going on. March is definitely turning out to be like TBR March. I recently did a video showing every single book on my TBR, showing my basement box books, and going over my Booktube spin list for 2021. And when I was looking at other people's videos about this same subject, I came across the TBR tag. I don't know who originally did this tag, but I will try to find out and link them down below. I have not prepared for this video at all. I am just going to go off my TBR shelf, not my basement books, and not any of the recently acquired books that I have. So if this is a little bananas, just let me know. Here are the TBR tag questions. Question number 1, how do you keep track of your TBR? So I don't really keep track of my TBR. I have a want to read shelf on Goodreads, which has some of my TBR on it. I have my TBR shelves and I have my basement box books, and then I also bring books into the house as I find them at Free Little Libraries or stoop sales or in some other secondhand way. My TBR shelf is almost exclusively secondhand books. They are books that I have acquired over my entire life. Same with my basement box books. My basement box books have moved with me at least 4 times. So some of those books are super old, some of them are more new. When we moved to Asbury Park, I went through all the books and I'm still going through them. Every couple of weeks or every month or so, I go down and I pick out some books, usually if I'm looking for a specific TBR. The books that I have on my TBR shelf are books that have come up from the basement. They're books that I've recently acquired, or there's books that I've had on like a TBR shelf for a really long time. Those basement box books are in no order whatsoever. They're totally random. Some of them are books that I still want to read, some of them books that I probably would never read. So going down there is really just like going to a bookstore and picking stuff out, which I really enjoy. My TBR shelf is not in any kind of order. It's not alphabetical. It's just the things that I might want to read or that have already come up from the basement or have come into the house recently. I am running out of room on this TBR shelf, so that is one of the reasons that I want to clean it out and organize it and make some more room. The answer to question 1 is I don't really keep track of my TBR. Question number 2, is your TBR mostly ebook, audiobook, or physical book? So my TBR is all physical books. I do have audiobooks that I want to read, but because I don't buy new audiobooks, I end up just finding them free on the internet, or if my dad loans them to me or something like that. I don't really consider them a TBR. I do have like maybe 1 or 2 audiobooks that I like want to read, but mostly like if it's a book I want to read, I'll look for it and then listen to it. I don't have any ebooks. I don't like to read ebooks. I do read newspaper articles, blogs online or on my phone, but that's like, I couldn't read a book that way. I just like couldn't have a Kindle or anything like that. It would drive me nuts. I need like a physical book, or listening to an audiobook works too, but having the physical book is always better for me. Question number 3, how do you determine what to read next from your TBR? This has changed a little since I've been on Booktube. I am definitely still a mood reader, and I will just see a book that I want to read and I will pick it up and I will read it. And sometimes if I'm not in the mood for it, I might put it down again and pick up another book. But since being on Booktube, there are a lot more TBRs that I want to join. There is a lot more things that I want to participate in, so I will be a little bit more choosy with the books that I choose. I don't keep a set TBR for each month. It's easy for me to just kind of create a little stack, and then what I read from that, I read from that. Question number 4, a book that's been on your TBR the longest. A lot of these are really old. A lot of them I've had for years and years and years. I really couldn't pick a book that's been on the TBR the longest. Probably one of the books in my basement. I know that, and another thing I got in Vermont, and I haven't been to Vermont in at least 6 years, probably more like 8 years. And this is a rare book that I actually bought new. Some of these books were at my mom's house, so they were probably her books. I would say a lot of my books have been on for a long time, but it would be easier to pick the books that haven't been on for a long time. And that brings me to question 5, a book that was recently added to my TBR. I have been acquiring a few books lately. This Sally Lockhart mystery, The Tiger in the Well, is a book that I got from a local thrift store. I probably got that like in the last month or two, so that's pretty newly acquired. I did just the other day pick up a few books from some free libraries, which you will see in another video. I would say that I pick up between 1 and 10 books every month free. I think that has increased a lot since I've been on Booktube. I used to only try to pick up like 1 to 2 books a month because I have more books than I'll ever be able to read. But since starting Booktube, I definitely have been jonesing to pick up more books, and I have noticed some books that I've seen on Booktube that I've picked up just in case I want to read them. Question number 6, a book that you've added to your TBR because it's beautiful. This is a great example right here. Technically this is not on my TBR because I don't really plan on reading it anytime soon, but this is a used copy of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Two Towers, and I think it is gorgeous. And although we have multiple copies of this book, I picked it up at a library sale just for the cover. It has a great picture of J.R.R. Tolkien on the back as well. When I'm picking up beautiful books, they are generally very much vintage books. That is my aesthetic, that is what I like, although I think some of the covers of newly published or recently put out books are gorgeous. I don't know that they would ever beat a vintage cover in my opinion. Question number 7, a book on your TBR that you're never going to read. I have so many books in my basement, books and my TBR shelf, that there are probably lots that I'm never going to get to read. When I pick up a book, I want to read it and I plan to read it, but there's going to be books that I'm not going to read. For instance, this copy of The Two Towers. I've read The Hobbit and I've read the first 2 books of the Lord of the Rings trilogy because I would need to reread all the books, so I'm probably not going to read The Two Towers. Question number 8, an unpublished book. So I don't have any unpublished books. I don't do ARCs or e-ARCs or anything like that, so I don't have any of these. Question number 9 is a book on your TBR that basically everyone's read but you. I don't know where it is. Oh, for this one, I'm going to go with Frankenstein. I've seen a lot of booktubers recently and in the last couple of years read Frankenstein, and although I may have read this, I don't remember it at all, so I would like to read or reread this if I read it and forgot, but I feel like everyone on Booktube has read it and loved it, and I have not. Question number 10, a book that everyone recommends to you. Although a lot of my friends read, and although my husband reads and my dad reads, I don't get a lot of book recommendations, so I'm not sure what a book that everyone recommends to me would be. Yeah, I don't think there is one. I don't get a lot of book recommendations. Question number 11, a book on your TBR that you are dying to read. So a book that I just got, but I haven't shown you yet. Oh wait, it was in my ASMR, my TBR ASMR for March, is Cover Her Face by P.D. James. So I am a huge P.D. James fan. She is a British author who writes murder mysteries, and one of her main characters is Detective Adam Dalgleish. He is a British police detective, and he is, you know, really great at solving crimes, and he's one of my all-time favorite detectives. Cover Her Face is the first of the Adam Dalgleish novels. I believe it was written in 1962, and I didn't have it, so I've been reading all the Adam Dalgleish books, but I've been reading them all out of order, which is, you know, not the best. I'm really excited to see the origin of one of my favorite detectives and to read another early P.D. James book. I have the last P.D. James book that she wrote, The Private Patient, on my Booktube spin, so I'm excited to get to this one too, but I think the earlier ones are really my favorites, so seeing that first Adam Dalgleish book and finding out what happens is going to be really cool. Question number 12 is how many books on your TBR shelf? So let's see. So on this shelf alone, I have 123 books. I picked up recently about 10 books, so that brings us to 133. And so I'm gonna say I have about 133, 135 books on my TBR shelf, but I probably have 3 times that in the basement, and there's no way that I would go and count it. So let's call it 135, and that's close enough for me. Let's make March TBR month, and tell me all about your TBR. Do this tag, either answer it in the comments below or put it on your own booktube, and be sure to let me know when you do, because I would love to watch. Thanks for sticking with me for this very squirmy TBR video, and I really hope that you like and subscribe if possible, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye. Oh look, I found a whisker on the ground. I found a whisker on the ground. Okay, put it in my whisker jar.